He does not look at her when she speaks. Stay with me to the end. It is a story you will not soon forget. Subscribe. And if you are here for the journey, drop the word stay in the comments. His focus remains on the cylinder head in his hands. The metal is cool and heavy, smelling of solvent and latent heat. His knuckles are scraped, the lines on his palms etched with grease that no soap can fully remove. The contract is terminated, Mr. Cade. The voice is crisp. It cuts through the quiet hum of the fluorescent lights in his garage, a sound as alien as a diamond dropped in a bucket of bolts. Elias Cade sets the cylinder head down on the workbench. He does not place it. He sets it with a precision that suggests it is a piece of a fragile puzzle. The metal makes a soft, solid sound against the scarred wood. For a count of 3, he studies the alignment of the valves, the clean score of the gasket surface. He does not turn around. He can feel the eyes on his back. Not just hers. There are 2 others. Men in dark suits whose shoes squeak softly on the concrete floor. They stand awkwardly near the open bay door, trying not to get their polished leather dirty. And then there is Marcus Vance. Elias feels his presence most of all. A smug, cloying stillness that has not changed in 10 years. "Did you hear me?" the woman asks. Her voice has an edge of impatience now, the kind of tone used by people who are not accustomed to being ignored. Elias picks up a clean, red rag. He slowly, methodically, wipes the oil from his hands. He folds the rag once, then twice, and places it beside the cylinder head. Only then does he turn. She is exactly as he pictured from the business journals. Eris Thorne, hair the color of dark honey, pulled back in a severe knot that does nothing to soften the sharp angles of her face. Her eyes are a pale, calculating gray. They are her father's eyes, but without the warmth. She wears a gray suit that probably costs more than the engine lift in the corner. He meets her gaze. He does not speak. "Thorne Automotive is moving in a new direction," she says, reciting a line that Vance has surely fed her. "We're streamlining our legacy contracts. Your services are no longer required." Behind her, Vance shifts his weight. A small, satisfied smile plays on his lips. He is the company's chief operating officer now. A long climb from the junior analyst who used to fetch coffee. Elias looks past her, past Vance, to the far corner of the garage. His daughter, Maya, sits at a small wooden desk he built for her. She is 7. She has his old design schematics spread out, coloring them in with crayons. She is carefully staying within the lines of a complex transmission diagram. She has not looked up, but he knows she is listening. Her small shoulders are rigid. He turns his attention back to Eris Thorne. He gives a single, slow nod. That is all. A nod. Her composure cracks for a fraction of a second. A flicker of confusion crosses her face. She expected him to argue, to plead, to show anger. Vance certainly told her he would be difficult, volatile, a relic clinging to the past. Elias Cade does none of those things. He simply accepts it. The silence stretches. The only sound is the gentle tick of a cooling engine block from the car on the lift. Vance steps forward, clearing his throat. "Well, that's settled then. We'll have the final paperwork sent over." He puts a proprietary hand on Eris's elbow, guiding her toward the door. "Eris, we have that meeting with the board at 4. She allows him to lead her away, but she glances back over her shoulder. Her eyes are narrowed, studying Elias as if he is an equation she cannot solve. He does not hold her gaze. He turns back to his workbench, picks up a torque wrench, and adjusts the setting with a series of quiet, deliberate clicks. He does not watch them leave. He hears the slide of the expensive shoes on the concrete. He hears the whisper of their voices. He hears the authoritative chunk of a luxury sedan door closing. Then, the roar of an engine too powerful for these quiet country roads. The sound fades. Silence returns to the garage. He stands at the bench for a full minute. The torque wrench is cold in his hand. He is not looking at the cylinder head anymore. He is looking at his reflection in the dark, mirrored surface of a tool chest. A man with tired eyes and a quiet mouth. "Daddy." Maya's voice is small. He sets the wrench down and turns to her. He walks to her desk, his work boots making no sound. He kneels beside her chair. "That lady was sad," Maya says. She does not look at him. She points a purple crayon at the face of the woman in the suit. Her eyes were like the sky before it rains. Elias looks at his daughter's drawing. She has colored the woman's suit a stormy gray. Yes, he says, his voice low and calm. I think she is. He does not say that the woman has just taken away a third of his income. He does not say that the contract was a promise made by her father, a man he once called a friend. He does not say that Marcus Vance is a snake who has been waiting 10 years to strike. He puts his arm around his daughter's small shoulders. Let's go wash up for dinner, he says. She leans her head against his side. The smell of gasoline and metal clings to his shirt. It is the smell of home to her. Eris Thorne cannot shake the image of his face. She sits in the back of her chauffeured sedan. The city lights a blur of neon and gold outside the tinted window. Vance is talking. He has been talking since they left the garage, a triumphant monologue about efficiency and cutting dead weight. You see, Vance says, his voice smooth as polished chrome. No fight in him. Just like I told you. He's been coasting on your father's charity for years. It was a mercy, really. Eris does not respond. She stares at her own reflection in the glass. The woman looking back is tired. The knot in her hair feels too tight. The grief for her father is a cold, heavy stone in her chest, a weight she has carried for 6 months. She thought making decisive, ruthless decisions would lighten it. It has not. It was the quiet. The man's absolute, unyielding quiet. It was not the silence of defeat. It was something else. Something she cannot name. It felt like patience. He just nodded. She says, more to herself than to Vance. Of course he did, Vance scoffs. What else could he do? He knew he was beaten. But he did not look beaten. He looked grounded. As if he were a rock and she were just a wave washing over him, destined to recede. The thought is unsettling. It undermines the narrative Vance has so carefully constructed for her. The story of a brilliant but soft-hearted father who kept sentimental, useless people on the payroll. Stop the car, she says suddenly. The driver glances in the rearview mirror, startled. Vance stops mid-sentence. Eris? We'll be late. Stop the car, she repeats, her voice firm. The sedan glides to the curb. Without another word, she opens the door and gets out. The air is cool, carrying the scent of rain. I need to walk, she says, closing the door. I'll take a cab to the office. Go on without me. Vance stares at her through the window, his mouth slightly open. He looks flustered, his control of the situation slipping. She turns her back on him and starts walking. She does not know where she is going. She just needs the motion. The city is a cacophony of sounds and smells, but in her mind, she is back in the quiet garage. She hears the tick of the cooling engine. She sees the methodical way he folded the red rag. She sees the little girl in the corner, coloring in the lines of a machine with intense focus. There was a story in that garage, and Marcus Vance was not the one telling it. Her father was part of it. And for the first time, Eris wonders if she understands her father's legacy at all. The next day, she runs. It is a habit she inherited from her father. When the world became too loud, he would run until it was quiet again. She drives her personal car, a sleek Thorne automotive prototype, out of the city, heading for the winding country roads near the reservoir. She needs the burn in her lungs, the ache in her muscles. She needs to outrun the ghost of Elias Cade's quiet dignity. She parks by the side of the road and starts. The air is damp and heavy. The sky is the color of slate. She pushes herself hard, her expensive running shoes pounding a relentless rhythm on the asphalt. Miles dissolve behind her. The stress of the boardroom, the weight of her father's empire, the smug face of Marcus Vance. She tries to sweat it all out. She pushes too hard. It starts as a slight dizziness, a blurring at the edges of her vision. She ignores it. She has not been eating properly. She has not been sleeping. Grief and pressure are a toxic cocktail. She runs faster, trying to power through it. The world tilts. The green of the trees on the roadside smears into a dark, incomprehensible blur. Her legs feel like they are made of water. A sharp, searing pain ignites behind her eyes. She stumbles. She does not remember falling. There is only the rough, shocking kiss of asphalt against her cheek, and then a deep, enveloping darkness. Elias is driving his old pickup truck home from the parts supplier. Maya is in the passenger seat, humming a little tune and clutching a small, greasy alternator bearing she has claimed as a treasure. He sees something on the road ahead, a splash of bright color against the gray pavement. He slows the truck, his hand instinctively going to Maya's shoulder. It is a person, a woman, lying face down. He pulls the truck over, the tires crunching on the gravel shoulder. He puts it in park, the engine rumbling in a low idle. "Stay here, sweetie," he says to Maya, his voice even. "Lock the doors. Do not open them for anyone." She nods, her eyes wide. She knows this tone. It is the one he uses when something is serious. He gets out of the truck. The air is still. A light drizzle begins to fall, dotting the back of his worn work jacket. He approaches the woman cautiously. She is wearing bright blue running clothes. One of her shoes has come off. He kneels beside her. "Ma'am," he says gently. "Can you hear me?" There is no response. He carefully checks for a pulse in her neck. It is there, but it is thready and fast. There is a nasty scrape on her temple where she hit the pavement. He does not recognize her face, which is pale and strained. He looks up and down the road. It is deserted. His garage is 2 miles back. The nearest town with a clinic is another 2 miles in the other direction. Cell service is spotty out here. He makes a decision. He goes back to the truck. Maya has her face pressed against the window. "Is she sleeping?" she asks. "Something like that," he says. "I need to help her. I'm going to carry her to Dr. Miller's clinic. It's faster than waiting for an ambulance out here. I want you to stay in the truck and lock the doors. Can you do that for me?" She nods again, her expression solemn. She understands responsibility. He returns to the woman. He slips off his jacket, the familiar one made of thick, oiled canvas. He carefully rolls her onto her side, then drapes the jacket over her to shield her from the increasing rain. He positions himself, hooks one arm under her knees and the other around her back. He straightens his legs, lifting her. She is lighter than he expected, but it is a dead weight. He starts walking. 2 miles. It is not a marathon, but it is not a sprint. He settles into a steady, ground-eating pace. His boots are heavy. The woman's head lolls against his shoulder. Her breathing is shallow. The rain plasters her hair to her forehead. He does not think about the weight. He does not think about the distance. He thinks about the rhythm of his own breathing. He thinks about the feel of the road beneath his feet. He focuses on the task. One step, then another, then another. It is what he has always done. He reaches the small-town clinic 40 minutes later. His shoulders burn and his back aches, but his pace has not faltered. He kicks the clinic door open. A nurse looks up, her eyes widening in shock. "She collapsed on Old Mill Road," Elias says, his voice steady despite the strain. Pulse is fast and weak. The nurse and Dr. Miller, a man with kind, tired eyes whom Elias has known for years, spring into action. They help him lay her on an examination table. As they do, her head turns. The hair that was stuck to her face falls away. Elias freezes. It is her, Eris Thorne, the woman from the garage. He stares at her pale, unconscious face. The sharp, authoritative lines are gone. She looks younger, vulnerable. Maya was right. She looks sad. Dr. Miller is already working, taking her blood pressure. Dehydration, exhaustion by the look of it. Maybe more. "Do you know her, Elias?" Elias does not answer for a moment. He looks at his jacket, still draped over her. He looks at her face. He thinks of the contract. He thinks of Marcus Vance. He thinks of his daughter, alone in the truck. He should tell them. He should explain who she is. He does not. "No," he says quietly. "Just found her on the road." He backs away from the table. The nurse is cutting away the sleeve of her running shirt to start in 4. No one is paying attention to him. He turns and walks out of the clinic. He does not look back. He leaves his jacket behind. The rain is coming down harder now. He walks the 2 miles back to his truck, the cold drops soaking his shirt. He does not hurry. Eris wakes up to the smell of antiseptic and the soft, rhythmic beep of a machine. A thin blanket is pulled up to her chin, and 4-needle is taped to the back of her hand. Memory returns in fragments. The road, the dizziness, the fall. She sits up slowly. A wave of nausea washes over her, but it passes. She is in a small, clean room. It looks more like a doctor's office than a hospital. A man in a white coat comes in. "Ah, you're awake. Good. Gave us a bit of a scare. I'm Dr. Miller. You collapsed. Severe dehydration and exhaustion." "What happened?" she asks, her voice hoarse. "A local fellow found you. Carried you in. 2 miles, he must have walked. Said he found you on Old Mill Road. Carried her?" The thought is staggering. "Who was he?" she asks. "Didn't give a name. The doctor says, checking the forebag. Just said he found you and left. Left his jacket. Though, he gestures to a chair in the corner. A worn, brown canvas jacket is draped over the back of it. It smells of motor oil, rain, and something else. Something clean and masculine. She recognizes it. Her mind races. The quiet man from the garage. Elias Cade. It makes no sense. The man she had publicly humiliated, the man whose livelihood she had threatened, had found her collapsed on a deserted road and carried her 2 miles to safety. And then he had walked away without a word, not even taking his jacket. She swings her legs over the side of the bed. I need my things. My phone. The doctor looks concerned. You need to rest. We've been trying to identify you. My name is Eris Thorne, she says, her voice gaining strength. And I need to find the man who brought me here. An hour later, dressed in a set of scrubs the nurse found for her, she is in a taxi, her own car having been retrieved by an assistant. The jacket is on the seat beside her. She runs her hand over the rough canvas. In the pocket, her fingers find a small, smooth object. She pulls it out. It is an alternator bearing, worn smooth from countless rotations. It shines with a dull silver light. A child's treasure. The taxi pulls up to a small, independent garage on the edge of town. Ben's Auto Repair, the faded sign reads. An older man with a kind face and grease-stained hands looks up from under the hood of a car. This is the man Dr. Miller had suggested she talk to. If anyone knows who wears a jacket like that around here, he'd said, it's Ben. Eris gets out of the car, holding the jacket. Ben watches her approach, his expression wary. Can I help you? He asks, wiping his hands on a rag. His eyes flick to the jacket, and a flicker of recognition crosses his face. I'm looking for the man who owns this, Eris says. Ben's eyes narrow slightly. Why? He helped me yesterday. I want to thank him. Ben studies her for a long moment. He is a man who knows how to read people as well as he reads engines. That's Elias Cade's jacket, he says finally. But I have a feeling you already knew that, Miss Thorne. The use of her name confirms it. He knows who she is. How do you know Elias? She asks, deciding that honesty is the only path forward. I've known him since he was a boy, Ben says. Knew his father. I also knew your father, Robert Thorne. For a long time. This is the connection. The missing piece. My father. He gave Mr. Cade a contract, she begins. I terminated it. Ben lets out a slow breath and leans against the fender of the car. He looks not at her, but at some point in the distant past. Robert never called it a contract. He called it a royalty. A debt he was paying. Eris feels a chill despite the humid air. A debt for what? For the Thorne T7 engine, Ben says quietly. The engine that saved your company 10 years ago. The engine that Marcus Vance takes credit for designing. The world seems to slow down. The pieces are slotting into place, forming a picture she does not want to see. My father designed the T7, she says, the words sounding hollow even to her own ears. Your father was a brilliant businessman, Ben corrects gently. But Elias is an artist. An artist with gears and pistons. They designed it together. In Elias's garage. It was mostly Elias's concept. Your father was refining it for mass production. Ben's gaze finally meets hers, and it is filled with a deep, ancient disappointment. Then Vance saw his opportunity. He was just a junior executive, but he was ambitious. He stole the final schematics, made a few cosmetic changes, and presented them to the board as his own while your father was in the hospital after his first heart attack. He claimed Elias was a disgruntled consultant trying to steal company property. Why didn't Elias fight him? Eris whispers. The question hangs in the air, heavy and shameful. Because your father asked him not to, Ben says. The company was vulnerable. A public fight over the T7's patent would have destroyed it. Vance had the board convinced. Your father was weak. So he made a deal with Elias. Let Vance have the glory. In return, your father would pay him a percentage of the profits from that engine, quietly, through a perpetual service contract. A way to make it right without tearing everything down. Elias agreed. To protect his friend. To protect the company your father had built. Eris stumbles back a step, leaning against the taxi for support. Her entire understanding of her father, her company, and the last 10 years has just been shattered. The man she dismissed as dead weight was the quiet architect of their success. The man she trusted, Marcus Vance, was a thief. And she had walked into that man's garage and, in her arrogant grief, spat on his silent sacrifice. "Where does he live?" she asks, her voice tight. Ben gives her an address. He does not wish her luck. He simply watches her get back into the taxi, his expression one of profound sadness. He knows the damage is already done. She does not go to his house. Not yet. She goes to her father's house, the sprawling mansion she grew up in, now empty and silent. She walks straight to his private study, a room she has barely entered since his death. It smells of old leather, pipe tobacco, and paper. Ben's words echo in her mind. A debt he was paying. Her father was a man of honor, but he was also a man of secrets. She starts searching. She pulls books from shelves, runs her hands along the wood paneling, checks the drawers of his massive oak desk. She finds nothing. She is about to give up when she notices a framed photograph on the desk. It is a picture of her and her father, taken years ago at the launch of the T7 engine. He is smiling, but his eyes look tired. She is standing beside him, beaming with pride. Behind them, out of focus, is Marcus Vance, looking triumphant. She picks up the frame. It is heavier than it should be. She turns it over. There is a small, almost invisible seam along the back panel. Using a letter opener, she pries it open. Inside, hidden in a shallow compartment, is a single, folded sheet of paper and a small, tarnished brass key. The paper is a handwritten letter. The script is her father's, but it is shaky, written near the end of his life. "Eris," it begins. "If you are reading this, it means I am gone, and you have started asking the right questions. There are things a man does that he is not proud of, choices made in moments of weakness. My greatest regret is the T7, not the engine itself, but the man I failed to protect. His name is Elias Cade. He is a better engineer than I ever was, and a better man than I deserved as a friend. Marcus Vance is a viper I let into our house. The truth is in the floor safe, behind the portrait of your grandfather. The key is for the box inside. Forgive me. Do what is right." Her hands are trembling. Tears blur her vision. She looks up at the large, imposing portrait of her grandfather. She pushes it aside. Behind it is the dark, metal circle of a combination safe. The combination is her birthday. Of course it is. The heavy door swings open. Inside is a single, gray metal lockbox. The brass key fits perfectly. She lifts the lid. It is all there. The original blueprints for the T7, the pages filled with elegant, precise handwriting she now recognizes as Elias's. Both his signature and her father's are at the bottom of each page. There are notes in the margins, a dialogue between two brilliant minds. There are financial records showing Vance's embezzlement, siphoning money from the project. And there is a sworn, notarized affidavit from her father, detailing the entire story, from the engine's conception to Vance's theft and the subsequent cover-up. The trinity of truths. Vance's treachery, her father's regret, and Elias's quiet, profound honor. She closes the box. She has what she needs. She drives to Elias Cade's garage. It is late now, and the lights are on inside. Through the large bay window, she can see him working, his movements fluid and economical. The little girl, Maya, is asleep on a small cot in the corner, a worn teddy bear clutched in her arms. Eris gets out of the car, carrying the metal box. She hesitates for a moment, the weight of her apology heavy in her throat. Then she walks to the door and knocks. Elias looks up. He shows no surprise. He simply wipes his hands on a rag and walks to the door, opening it. The smell of oil and solvent washes over her. "Mr. Cade," she starts, her voice unsteady. I came to apologize." He looks at the box in her hands, then back at her face. He does not invite her in. He just waits. "I know everything," she says, her voice cracking. "The engine. My father. Vance. I am so sorry. For what I said. For what I did. I was wrong." He is silent for a long time. He looks over his shoulder at his sleeping daughter. "Why didn't you say anything?" Eris asks, the question that has been haunting her. "When I came here, why did you let me do that to you without a word?" He finally meets her eyes. His gaze is clear and direct, without anger or pity. "Because your father was my friend," he says, his voice a low rumble. "And you were his daughter. You were grieving. Fighting me wouldn't have helped you. It would have just broken something else he built." He looks at her face, truly looks at her, for the first time. You didn't know who I was. The simple truth of it cuts her to the core. A small sound comes from inside the garage. Maya is stirring. She sits up on the cot, rubbing her eyes. She sees Eris standing in the doorway. Elias turns to his daughter. Eris expects him to send her back to bed, to shield her from this adult moment. He does not. Maya slips off the cot, her bare feet silent on the concrete. She walks toward them, dragging her teddy bear. She stops in front of Eris and looks up at her. Your face isn't sad anymore, Maya says with the simple authority of a child. Eris feels a tear slide down her cheek. She kneels down so she is at the little girl's level. No, she says softly. It's not. Maya holds up her teddy bear. He gives good hugs, she offers. Eris looks from the child to the father. She sees the same quiet strength in both of them. In that moment, she understands what her own father had valued so much. It was not just about engines. It was about integrity. A crisis hits Thorn Automotive 2 days later. A rival corporation, Atlas Dynamics, announces the launch of their new flagship engine, the Titan. The design is a near-perfect copy of the Thorn T7 with minor modifications. They file a preemptive lawsuit against Thorn, claiming patent infringement and corporate espionage, alleging Thorn stole their design. It is Vance's endgame. He has sold the original design to Atlas, positioning them to destroy Thorn Automotive, after which he would be rewarded with a senior position at the rival company. The board is in a panic. The company's stock plummets. Eris calls an emergency board meeting. She walks into the room with a calm she does not feel. Vance is already there, his face a mask of false concern. This is a disaster, he says. We need to settle. Our patent is too similar. A legal battle will ruin us. No, Eris says, her voice ringing with authority. We are going to fight. She spends the next 48 hours with Elias. Not in a boardroom, but in his garage. She brings him the lockbox, the original T7, and the schematics for the Atlas Titan. They didn't just copy it, Elias says, his hands flying over the blueprints, his mind working at a speed she can barely follow. They introduced a flaw. Here, he points to a specific component in the fuel injection system. Vance was never a true engineer. He doesn't understand resonance. Under high stress, this manifold will crack. It's a catastrophic failure waiting to happen. Can you prove it? Eris asks. He looks up from the papers, and for the first time, she sees a fire in his eyes. I can do better, he says. I can build the engine I always wanted to make. The T8. The one your father and I were designing before. He trails off. They work side by side. She is no engineer, but she is a quick study. She fetches tools, cleans parts, holds schematics. She watches him work, his hands moving with an innate understanding of the machine. She sees the passion he has kept hidden for a decade. She keeps him supplied with coffee and makes sure Maya has her meals. For 2 days, the garage is their entire world. They barely speak, but a new kind of understanding grows between them in the shared work and quiet focus. The day of the final board meeting arrives. Atlas Dynamics CEO is present via video conference, confident and smug. Marcus Vance sits at the head of the table, across from Eris, ready to deliver the final blow. Eris begins. She does not raise her voice. She calmly, methodically, lays out the contents of the lockbox. She presents her father's letter, the original blueprints, the financial records of Vance's deceit. Vance's face goes pale. He sputters denials, calling it a fabrication, a desperate move by a grieving daughter. You are a liar and a thief, Eris says, her voice like ice. You stole my father's company, and you betrayed his trust. Prove it, Vance snarls. The boardroom doors open. Elias Cade walks in. He is wearing a clean shirt, but his hands still bear the marks of his trade. He does not look at anyone but Eris. He walks to the back of the room and stands there, his presence a silent, powerful testament. The proof, Eris says, gesturing to a large monitor, is in the design. She plays a simulation that Elias created. It shows the Atlas Titan engine running at peak performance. It then shows the critical fuel manifold developing a stress fracture, exactly as he predicted, leading to a spectacular, fiery explosion. The room is silent. The CEO of Atlas on the screen looks horrified. That is your engine, Eris says to him. A flawed copy of a stolen design. And this, she clicks to the next file, is our future. A new animation plays. A sleeker, more powerful engine. The Thorn T8. It is a work of art, elegant and efficient. The man who designed the original T7, and who has now perfected it, is standing in this room, Eris announces. Mr. Elias Cade, our new head of research and development. Vance leaps to his feet. This is absurd. He's a backwater mechanic. Elias finally speaks. He does not shout. His voice is quiet, but it fills the room. You forgot about the harmonic dampener on the crankshaft, Marcus, he says. You never did understand vibrations. That one technical sentence destroys Vance completely. It is a truth no one in the room can dispute. It proves Elias's authorship beyond any doubt. Vance collapses back into his chair, defeated. The vote to remove him is unanimous. Security guards escort him from the room, his career in ruins. The CEO of Atlas Dynamics abruptly ends the video call. Their lawsuit will be dropped by morning. The board members crowd around Eris, congratulating her. She accepts their praise, but her eyes are on the man standing silently at the back of the room. He gives her a small, almost imperceptible nod, then turns and leaves. Eris excuses herself and follows him. She finds him in the cavernous parking garage, walking toward his old pickup truck, which looks small and out of place among the expensive corporate sedans. Elias, she calls out. He stops and turns. They stand there for a moment, the tension of the past week draining away, leaving a quiet, shared victory in its place. Thank you, she says. It feels inadequate. He just nods. You did the work. Before she can say more, a low rumble echoes through the garage. A procession of vehicles turns the corner. Not one or two, but 30 black SUVs, their headlights cutting through the gloom. They glide to a stop, surrounding them, forming a silent, imposing fleet. Elias instinctively steps in front of Eris, a protective gesture. But Eris puts a hand on his arm. It's okay, she says. They're with me. Doors open, and people begin to get out. Thorn Automotive's top engineers, designers, and technicians. They look confused, but they stand by their vehicles, waiting. What is this? Elias asks, his voice low. This is our new R&D team, Eris says. They were told the project was moving. They just didn't know where. She looks at him, her gray eyes earnest. I'm not asking you to come to my world, Elias. I'm bringing my world to you. We're building a new facility. A proper one. Near your garage. You can run it however you see fit. He stares at her, at the sea of black cars, at the army of engineers now waiting for his command. He understands the magnitude of her gesture. She is not absorbing him into her empire. She is moving the heart of her empire to him. My daughter, he starts. Goes to the school down the road from your house. Eris finishes for him. And I've already rented the small farmhouse on the hill overlooking your workshop. My commute will be shorter than yours. He is speechless. He looks at this powerful, determined woman who has upended her entire life to make things right. She reaches into the pocket of her suit jacket and pulls something out. It is not a pen or a phone. It is a wrench. It is old, the metal worn smooth with use, the maker's mark almost illegible. This was my father's, she says, holding it out to him. It was his favorite. He said it had a perfect balance. I think he would want you to have it. Elias looks at the wrench, then at her. He slowly reaches out and takes it. His calloused fingers close around the smooth, cool steel. It feels right in his hand. A symbolic passing of a legacy. A gift not of money, but of trust and respect. 3 months later, the new Thorn R&D facility is fully operational. It is a state-of-the-art building of glass and steel that somehow manages to look at home in the rolling green hills. Elias runs it with quiet efficiency, earning the fierce loyalty of his new team not with speeches, but with his deep knowledge and unwavering integrity. The T8 engine is a triumph, set to revolutionize the industry. Eris is true to her word. She lives in the small farmhouse, trading her city penthouse for a porch with a view of the sunrise. She is at the facility every day, but she is a partner, not a commander. She learns from him, and he, in turn, learns to navigate the corporate world with her guidance. They are a formidable team. One crisp autumn afternoon, they walk away from it all. They take Maya to the county fair. Maya is a whirlwind of joy, dragging them from the Ferris wheel to the cotton candy stand. She wins a goldfish by tossing a ping-pong ball into a tiny bowl, a feat of improbable luck. She names it Bolt. Later, as the sun begins to set, casting long shadows across the fields, the three of them stand on a small hill, away from the crowds. Maya is between them, holding each of their hands. She is chattering happily about her new fish. Elias and Eris are quiet. They look out at the horizon, painted in shades of orange and purple. A comfortable silence exists between them, one that is no longer filled with unspoken history or regret, but with a sense of peace and shared purpose. He does not say that she has brought his world back to life. She does not say that he has given her a legacy worth having. They do not need to. Maya yawns, her energy finally spent. She leans her head against Elias's leg. He scoops her up into his arms, and she settles against his shoulder, her eyes fluttering closed. Eris watches them, the stoic, gentle father and the trusting child. They are a complete world unto themselves, a world that has slowly, quietly, made room for her. She reaches out and gently tucks a stray strand of hair behind Maya's ear. Her fingers brush against Elias's hand. It is a brief, simple touch, but it holds the weight of their entire journey. They stand there together, the three of them, as the last sliver of the sun disappears and the first stars begin to appear in the darkening sky. The noise of the fair fades into a distant, happy murmur. The air grows cool. There is no dramatic declaration, no grand romantic gesture. There is only this, a quiet moment of stillness, shared between two people who have found in each other a balance as perfect as an old, trusted tool. It is not an ending. It is a beginning, and it is enough.